They were the faces of the 90s, and 27 years later, almost none of them went where you'd expect. Addiction, conservation scandals, Emmy wins nobody saw coming. This is the American Pie cast in 2026. Let's go! Number 1. Jason Biggs as Jim Levenstein. At 47, Jason Biggs looks nothing like the wide-eyed, stumbling teenager who made the world cringe and laugh at the same time, and that transformation runs far deeper than just his appearance. Jim Levenstein was the heart of the franchise, the painfully relatable teenager whose every attempt at romance ended in spectacular disaster. But the real Jason Biggs was quietly fighting battles the cameras never captured. He has spoken openly about years lost to drug and alcohol addiction, and in 2025, he reached 7 years of sobriety. Not maintained, not managed, survived. He reclaimed his life, his family, and his creative voice in a way that very few in Hollywood actually managed to do. He married actress Jenny Mollen in 2008. The couple has 2 sons and lives in Manhattan. And as of January 2026, This Is Breaking Biggs released his directorial debut, a dark, Coen Brothers-style thriller called Untitled Home Invasion Romance, in which he also stars. Jim Levenstein has left the building. A serious filmmaker has taken his place. Fans still cherish the character who turned a pie into the most iconic comedy prop of the entire decade. But if you think Jim's transformation was extraordinary, wait until you hear about the actor who was paid only $8,000 to carry half this franchise on his back. Number 2. Seann William Scott as Steve Stifler. At 49, Seann William Scott is one of the most quietly compelling stories in this entire cast, and almost nobody is talking about it. Stifler was the unfiltered chaos engine of the franchise, the guy you couldn't take your eyes off, even when you probably should have. And here is the fact that still shocks people. Seann was paid just $8,000 for the first film. $8,000 for a character who became one of the most quoted in 90s comedy history. As of 2026, he stars in Shifting Gears on ABC, just renewed for its 3rd season. That is not a nostalgia comeback. That is an active, working leading man. He also appears in the 2026 slasher Dolly, but it's his personal life that tells the real story. Following his 2024 divorce, Seann has made his daughter Frankie Rose his entire world, openly choosing what he calls a boring life on purpose. Fans expecting to meet Stifler are always a little disappointed. The real Seann William Scott is nothing like him, and he is completely at peace with that. Fans still debate whether Stifler deserved his own spin-off. Honestly, that argument hasn't aged a day. And if Seann's reinvention surprised you, the next transformation is one that no casting director, no agent, and no studio executive saw coming. Number 3. Jennifer Coolidge as Stifler's mom. At 64, Jennifer Coolidge is arguably more famous, more celebrated, and more critically respected than at any other point in her career. And that career began with a single iconic scene in a teen comedy most critics dismissed. Her role as the original Stifler's mom became a cultural shorthand overnight, but what she built in the years that followed is the real story. Her performance in The White Lotus earned her back-to-back Emmy Awards and a Golden Globe, transforming her from a beloved character actress into genuine award season royalty. From one scene in 1999 to the most talked-about woman on television in the 2020s, few reinventions in Hollywood history are this complete. Fans still quote her delivery like it happened yesterday. But if Jennifer Coolidge's late career rise felt improbable, the next name on this list turned a franchise's father figure into a global television icon. Number 4. Eugene Levy as Jim's dad. At 79, Eugene Levy is more relevant than ever, and that is not a compliment you hand out lightly in an industry that discards people at half his age. Jim's dad was the franchise's moral compass, wrapped in pure comedy, the man who tried to have the talk with his son more times than anyone should ever have to. After American Pie, Levy co-created Schitt's Creek, which ran 6 seasons and became a global phenomenon. He now hosts The Reluctant Traveler on Apple TV+. And here is a detail worth noting. Jason Biggs has openly suggested that in American Pie 5, Jim would naturally step into Eugene's old role, a father now facing his own teenage son's antics. The franchise coming full circle. Fans remember Jim's dad as proof that the straightest character in the room is always the funniest. From Jim's dad to global icon, but the next cast member turned a quiet supporting role into one of the most critically respected careers in modern television. Number 5. Natasha Lyonne as Jessica. At 46, Natasha Lyonne has done something almost impossible in Hollywood. She didn't just come back, she came back better. Jessica was the sharp, straight-talking voice of reason in a film full of chaos. After years away from the spotlight, Lyonne returned not just as an actress, but as a writer and director, co-creating Russian Doll and leading Poker Face. Critics who once overlooked her now consider her one of the most distinct creative voices working in television today. Jessica always seemed to know more than everyone else in the room. Turns out, she really did. From quiet comeback to critical darling, but the next cast member never left the screen at all. Number 6. Alyson Hannigan as Michelle Flaherty. At 51, Alyson Hannigan has done something almost no one from this cast can claim she has never really left our screens. Michelle delivered the franchise's most quoted line. Then Hannigan went straight into Buffy the Vampire Slayer, followed by 9 seasons of How I Met Your Mother, and now hosts Penn and Teller. Fool us. Continuous, consistent, uninterrupted. Fans still finish her Bandcamp line before she even gets to the punchline, and that is the mark of a line that has genuinely entered the culture permanently. Consistency is its own kind of reinvention, but the next cast member chose a path so radical, it made international headlines in 2026. Number 7. Shannon Elizabeth as Nadia. At 52, Shannon Elizabeth's story is the one nobody in this cast or this industry saw coming. Nadia's scenes made Shannon the breakout name of 1999, but she was quietly done with that chapter long before anyone noticed. In 2016, she moved to South Africa not for a film, not for a press tour, but to dedicate herself full-time to rhino conservation through her Shannon Elizabeth Foundation. Then, in 2026, she launched an OnlyFans account. Not for the reasons the tabloids assumed. She did it to reclaim her own narrative and to fund her conservation work on her own terms. She earned over $1 million in her first week. Now the debate is very much alive. Some fans called it a masterclass in personal reinvention, a woman weaponizing her own image to protect endangered species. Others felt it undercut the serious activist legacy she spent a decade building in South Africa. Both sides have a point. Was this a brilliant merger of platform and purpose, or did it blur a legacy she worked too hard to define? Drop your verdict in the comments right now. Number 8. Chris Klein as Oz. At 46, Chris Klein has made the most unexpected creative pivot of anyone from the core cast, and fans of the sensitive jock from 1999 are still processing it. Oz was the rare jock with a heart, the guy who joined choir for a girl and somehow made it the coolest thing in the film. Klein found steady television footing in Sweet Magnolias before landing what he personally calls a dream role, playing a serial killer in Fear Street, Prom Queen in 2025. The contrast between Oz and a murderer is not lost on anyone. That is exactly why it works. This cast didn't fade, they transformed. But whose story shocked you the most? Drop a name in the comments. And if you think this was wild, the Dawson's Creek cast is even wilder.